Hey everybody, this is Christina with the Quiet Cat Paper Company, and thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to start making this album, and we're going to start with page 1, and I hope you'll work along with me, and let's get started. So let's take a look at what we're going to make. Well, throw that over there. Okay, so this is the page that we're going to make. It's got 2 flaps, a little waterfall, and 3 pockets, and it has a magnet closure. Okay, but before we can get started on this, we also have to make the base page, and there are 4 of them, so we're going to go ahead and make all of those. And also, before we get started, I wanted to show you a couple of things. Put this over. Now, I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to bind this, but if you purchase the guide from my shop on Etsy, there's a link down below. This is the guide. It's fully illustrated, as you can see, in color. You don't have to print it. You could work with it, right from your computer, or you could print it and bind it. And let me just, as you can see, it's got a how-to section, and then it gets into the pages, and every page has an illustration with a cutting guide and everything you need to make the book. And of course, we'll cover most of it in the videos. We'll cover all of the construction in the videos, and I'll give you as many of the measurements as I can. But certainly the guidebook would be great to have. And then in the back are the templates for some of the pieces and the mats that we're going to be using. So that's the guide. And this is Mini Album 2, and it's available in my shop. Mini Album 1 is also available, and that's a cute album too. You can watch the whole video series on that one. And then, let me show you also, this as a bonus, when you do purchase that, I've given you a whole series of these tone-on-tone papers that you can print yourself. And there's several designs in several colorways. So we have this one, which is kind of like a little blotchy sort of. And then we have polka dots, which I hope are not blinding you on this camera. And then we have sort of a, you can see the colors, sort of a messy stripe. And see those. And then this really adorable sort of tree, well, it's not sort of a tree pattern, it is a tree pattern. So anyway, that comes also free with your purchase of the guide, which is, again, is available in my Etsy shop. All right, and if you do purchase it and you have any questions, just feel free to ask. And then we are using the Graphic45 Sun Kissed. That's the patterns and solids. And let me see if I can find. And then here's the cover of the paper collection. So we're using this paper collection for this project. It's really cute. And it's going to look much different than the sample one that we've already made using the Prima Love Story. And then I also have this cardstock from Country Craft Creations that I thought was really pretty, and we'll find a way to use that. I thought about using this for the base pages, but I was afraid maybe something so dark as a background you wouldn't be able to see it. So we're going to go with white, but we're going to use this in it too. Okay, so our first step is to make the base pages. I'm going to apologize in advance. My cat is right under my desk, so if you hear some noises, that's him. And he is the quiet cat because he's mute. However, he still manages to make quite a bit of noise. So I've got out my scoreboard because we're going to need to score some pieces. So in order to make the bases, you're going to need 4 pieces of cardstock that are 4.5 by 6 inches. And this is that piece, 4.5 by 6, and 4 pieces that are 5.5 by 6. Okay, you'll need 4 of each. I've just got one here. I've already made 3 of the pages, so I'm just going to show you real quick how to make them. So you're going to take the larger piece, okay, and you're going to put that in your scoreboard, the scoring tool, and you want the 5.5-inch edge of your paper. Can you see that? Yeah. So this is your 5.5. The paper's 5.5. You want to put that edge up along the top of your scoreboard. Okay. You don't want to put the 6. It should be 5.5. Okay. And then you're going to go ahead and score at the 5-inch mark. and at the 1/2 inch mark. Sorry, I'm being a little awkward here. Oops. I usually score it like sideways, sort of like this, and I don't know, it seems weird. Nobody else seems to do it, but that's the way I'm comfortable, so that's how I do it. So trying to do it up and down is a little awkward. Okay, and once you've scored your pieces, you have a little divot here and a little mound here. I like to put the mound to the inside. Doesn't really matter, it's just, I don't think, it's personal taste. I just feel like it's a little more accurate that way. Okay, and then you're going to score that really well. And burnish it, I should say. Okay, and this book goes this way with a spine here. So you're going to have an opening at this end for a side pocket and an opening at this end to go into your spine. All right, so we need to attach this on here, okay? Now you're going to need to trim these little corners. I like to do it usually after I tape. I don't know, sometimes I do it one way, sometimes I do it the other. No, that's 1/4 inch. I think I want to use 3/8. Grab that. All right. And you want to put this tape for this piece pretty close to the fold. So you don't want any gaps. Oh goodness. Scissors. I was going to clean these before this time. Okay, and just give it a snip, and then do the other side. If you put the tape, can you see? If you put the tape too far down here, you're going to end up with kind of a gap where there's no adhesive. Now there's some cases where you want that, where you want to put the tape further towards the cut. And I'll tell you as we go along where you need to place the tape if it's kind of unusual or different than where you'd normally put it, or if it matters. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and burnish the tape. And you could just trim these little corners before you put the tape on. Doesn't really matter, I don't think, but I don't really have a preferred way of doing it. Sometimes I do it one way, sometimes I do it the other. All right, let's get those out of the way. All right, now, so take your tape off of one side, and then you're going to take this piece, let me see if you can sort of see, we're just going to line it up like that, like right along the edge there. Sorry, I can't get my head over it, so I'm going to hope it's straight. All right, and then just very carefully take it all the way down to the other end, okay? And I never seem to cut everything exactly just so I've got a little hanging over it, but it doesn't matter in the end, that won't be noticeable. And I'm just going to go ahead, take the other piece off, and repeat. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, and then burnish it well, okay? Alright, so that's our base page. You can see it's a tube, okay? You've got an opening at one end, like I said, for your side pocket, and another end for your base, for your spine. Alright, so that's how you're going to make your base. You want to go ahead and make 4 of those, okay? And now, let me get these things out of the way and we'll get started with the next part. Okay, so for page 1, you're going to need to cut from cardstock. All right. You're going to need 4 waterfall pieces, and those are 2.5 by 2. Okay, cut 4 of those, 2.5 by 2. You are going to need 1 large flap that is 4.5 by 4.5. And then you're going to need one smaller flap that's 3.5 by 4.5. You're going to need a center pocket piece that's 4 inches by 3.5 pieces, 3.5 inches. You're going to need for the left pocket, you're going to need a piece 2.5 by 5. And then for the small pocket on the right side, you're going to need a piece 2 inches by 5.5. Okay, so that's all of our pieces. And let's get started with our scoring. Okay, so for the large pocket, for the large flap, you're going to go ahead and place the piece in your scoreboard with one of the 4.5 inch sides. It's a square, so it doesn't matter. One of the 4.5 inch sides along the top. And get a scoring tool. And you are going to score this at 1/2 inch, which I'm just going to go ahead to the 4 and score it there. It's easier. Okay. All right, so you've got a 4.5 inch piece and you've scored it at 4. All right, that's for that flap. Then for the small flap, you're going to put a 3.5 inch piece in your scoreboard and you're going to score it at 3. There's that. Then you're going to take the pocket pieces, well, there's 3 of them, and in turn, you're going to put them, now this pocket is the pocket that goes on the flap on the left. So here, here, and here need to be scored, and you want to leave one side open. Okay, and they're all going to be scored at 1/2 inch. So you can go ahead, put it in your scoreboard, score it at 1/2 inch, rotate it 90 degrees, score it again at 1/2 inch, rotate 90 degrees, and score again. So you have 3 sides scored and 1 side not scored. Okay, that's for the pocket. And you're going to do the same for this pocket. So you're going to score it at 1/2 inch, and you can actually just go to the other end and score it at 1/2 inch, and then rotate it 90 degrees, and I'm just going to go over here because it's a narrow piece and it's easier to reach at the 1.5 mark. Let me see. Okay, so there's that one. Okay, and this is the center pocket. You want to put it in your scoreboard with the 3.5 inch side along the top edge. Score it at 3 inches, score it at 1/2 inch, rotate 90 degrees, and score it at 1/2 inch, like so. Okay? So again, at the 3.5 inch side, you want to score it at 1/2, and at 3, turn it 90 degrees and score it at 1/2. All right, so that's all the scoring. Well, we still have to do the waterfalls, but we're going to do those in a minute. All right, so now we're going to take all of our pieces and fold and burnish like so. All right, and then this is and burnish. I really enjoyed making this album when I did it with the Prima love story, and it came out very sweet and romantic. I'm really looking forward to seeing how it comes out with this cute, fun collection from Graphic45. They're 2 of my favorite paper lines, the Prima and the Graphic45. So I tend to go for those a lot. Okay, that's the 3rd pocket, and then we have the 2 flaps. Okay, there we go. Now, what you need to do for all of your tabs, you see this is a tab, okay, so here's the main part, here's the tab, is you want to do what we did before on the base pages, and that's snip corners. Okay, do very well on that one. I am so blind, so working so far away from myself to stay under the camera, I'm being a little awkward. this is how you do the pockets. So snip there, and then just pretend this square isn't here and you're just snipping the end. Just go to that where the score lines meet. Oh, can you see that? And then angle out and go that way. Okay, and then just repeat. This just makes less bulk in the corners, and on the flaps and some of the other pieces, it's going to make it easier for you to put something into the flaps or corners or pockets later on to have that trimmed out. Also makes it a little easier to hide some of these tabs. You can make them narrower if you want. These 1/2-inch tabs are actually fairly wide, but I just find them easier to work with. Sometimes if you watch the last album, that was a teeny album rather than a mini album, then I'm working with quite narrow tabs and 1/8-inch tape. So these feel huge to me right now, since my last project was so small. And save all your scraps, because if you watch the last series, you know there's hardly anything you can't use in a very small album or a greeting card or something like that. There you go. Okay, so that's all that. All right, let me clean all this up and we'll come right back and get to the next step. Okay, I decided to go ahead and score these waterfall pieces, okay? So these are 2.5 by 2. So just put them in your scoreboard with the 2.5 inch side and score at 1/2 inch, like that. So you have 2.5 inches along the top and score at 1/2 inch. And you've got 4 of these. These I'm not going to trim. We're just going to fold them and score them and use them that way. With the waterfalls, it's sort of, sometimes you can trim the corners, sometimes you don't. It's kind of a personal taste thing, but I'm going to leave them. I find it easier to line them up if the full tab is there. Okay, so, all right, so now, our tape. This is one of those instances where I trim the corners before I taped. So you've got these pockets like this folded in, so you need to put the tape here. I find it easier to just turn it over like this and apply the tape. And in this case, again, you want it fairly close to the fold. It doesn't have to be right on it, but fairly close. Right. So, and like so, like this. Okay. Now you're going to do this for all of the tabs for your pockets. Just the same way I just did this one, so that when they fold in like that, the tape will be on this side. The tabs on the little waterfall pieces, the piece is going to flip up like this, right? So the tab needs to go here. The tape needs to go there. So let me just show you that real quick. All right, I'm going to get these all taped up and then I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. We've got these all taped. And I realized I forgot to show you on the flaps, you want to put the tape on the inside. Also, I apologize if my cat's being obnoxious. I realized while I was taping this that he's right under the desk, snoring away. And I would try to banish him to another room, but as anybody with a cat knows, that would probably result in more noise. Plus, he's almost 19 years old and he's had a cold, so I'm kind of keeping an eye on him. But he's doing good. He's just snoring. Okay, here's our pockets. So to get these ready, you just want to lift up the tape on the sides, not all the way, don't take it off. Back, and just press that down. Okay, I think I mentioned in my last video series that I learned that from Jennifer at Genevieve Designs, and it helps prevent things from catching on this piece when you put things in the pockets. Oh my goodness. Okay, there we go. Alrighty. Alright, so there's the 3 pockets. Those are ready to go. These are ready to go. Here's our waterfalls. Those are all taped and ready to go. I don't, sometimes I ink the bases of my books. It just depends on the look I'm going for. More often than not, I don't. So I'm not going to ink these, but when we get to the matting, we'll be inking. Okay? So here's our base page. And where's the book? Let me show you what we're going to do so you understand the steps. All right. So we have to insert the large flap on one end of the base, the small flap on the other end of the base. We have to add the pockets to each of the flaps, and then we have a pocket here and the waterfall here. Okay, so the first step is going to be to add these 2 flaps and then add the pockets to those flaps. Okay, make sense? The magnet is attached right about here on this page, and its accompanying magnet is underneath this pocket. So before we mat, we'll add that magnet. You could do it before you add the pocket, might be easier, but until I know exactly where this pocket is going, I like to wait on that. Okay, so let's get started. All right, so this will be the spine, this will be the side pocket. So what we need to do is insert this large flap. You see the opening in the base? And this flap goes into it with the tape facing up. Make sure that you have the tape facing up. Otherwise you will glue this closed and you won't be able to get it on your binding. Okay, so that's going to go in there facing up. And then this one is going to go on the opposite end in the side pocket opening, also with the tape facing up. Very important. Okay, and that's going to go in there. All right, makes sense? All right, so let's start with the bigger one. And I always like to dry fit, make sure everything fits well, or if I need to trim a little bit, because as I mentioned earlier, you do not always cut exactly right or fold exactly right, so it never hurts to just check. And that looks pretty good. So let's take our tape off, and your goal here, 2 things, is to try and get it in place before that tape grabs. The other is, when you do put it in, let me pull it up, see if you can see, I don't know if you can see that, don't go past your score mark, otherwise your flap won't flap. Okay, so once you get it right about where you think it should go, press. Okay, burnish, and there you go, you have 1 flap done. Very easy. All right, if you've made any mini albums before, you've probably done lots of flaps. So let's just check the fit on this one. And that looks pretty good. I think that'll be fine. And like this. Again, we're going to get it most of the way, but not past the score line. And press. Okay, so it's 1, 2, like so. All right, then we have the 2 pockets. One goes here and one goes here. All right, so let's do this one. This is this one. Just going to go there. Again, we'll check it for fit. It looks pretty good. And this one is going to go here. And that looks like it's a little bit long. So I probably should have checked it for fit before I put the tape on. Yeah, it's not too bad. But I'm going to see, let me see if I can pick that up. I may have to retape that a little bit. Yeah. Okay. No worries, that's going to be to the inside. And let me grab my scoreboard. This is why you check for fit, because not every time is everything just right. So I'm just going to see if I can rescore that and make it just a smidge. Hang on. Let's try that again. Honestly, I'd rather have a little bit of fudging on the pocket and have it not fit. All right. Let's see. Oh, that's much better. Okay. Take the time to do your fit, because it's, well, it depends. Maybe it wouldn't bother you. Certain things don't bother me at all that don't fit, but a pocket hanging off the edge of this, that would bother me. So. And you want to cheat it out towards this side, not towards the fold, because you want to make sure that this piece will still fold nicely. And that's why, another reason I was worried about it being a little big, because you don't want to make it so that your flap doesn't fold over. That's fine. Okay, then this one, can you see, is going to go here. And this you're going to put, line it up here, but just to the outside of that score line. Okay, there's that one. All right. Now, the pocket that goes here is this one, and the waterfalls, okay, can't be added until you add this mat. All right, but underneath that mat, we want to have a magnet. So we're just going to sort of eyeball the pocket and where it's going to go for now, just because you don't have to be super exact on the magnet. But it's basically about, I don't know, about 2.5 inches down from the top and 1.5 inches, I'm talking about the magnet here, but 1.5 inches over. So right about here is where the magnet goes. All right, and the matching magnet's going to be here. So it's probably easier to put this one and then that one, so that's what we'll do. Just get those out of the way. And I'm using the large basic grays for this, and they have their own adhesive on them. So you need a plus and a minus. Oops. Okay, here we go. And it doesn't really matter which one you put where, but I just want to have it's just about center. Peel the back off. This is going to be covered, of course, with a mat, and we're going to put it just about there. Okay. Then what you'll do, and let me grab a couple of little scraps of paper. These things really stick, so if you don't have a piece of paper between them, it can be tricky to get them apart. All right. Whoops, I'm sorry. I hope you can see that. There we go. All right. So I've got, let me just pull this up. So we've got one magnet right there, and the second magnet right there, sticky side up. You can use a little extra tape if you want, but I find these really do stick pretty well. Then all you do is close it, give it a good press, and use the paper to lift it up. Okay? And then I'm just going to tuck that in if it'll fit. Okay. Yeah, just to prevent the two magnets from sticking. Okay, so this pocket is going to go on top of that magnet. But first we have to add the base. All right, so the base mat is going to be 5 3/4 by 5 1/4. And I've got it over here, and I am going to go with this really cute stripe. And I move it out of the way. All right, so I need to ink that up. Let me grab some ink. And I think we're going to use Distress Oxide Walnut Stain. All right, mine is a mess, but you can see I use it a lot. I tend to use Walnut Stain a lot, Vintage Photo. Those are pretty much my two go-to inks. Whoops, on the wrong one. Just inking it a little bit. I'm not really going for a shabby look or anything here. I just want to define the edges and hide the core, the white core of the paper. All right, so this is going to cover that magnet. All right, and then the pocket piece that I was just showing you, you don't have to worry so much about centering it exactly on the magnet because the mat's going to hide it. All right, I'm going to use art glitter glue. It's kind of a mess, my bottle, but because I keep refilling this. You can get refills, so I just use the same bottle over and over and I keep refilling it. I use this almost exclusively for attaching mats. And look at that pretty blue on the other side of this paper. This collection is just so pretty. Every paper is pretty. I'm not a huge orange fan as a rule, but the oranges in this collection are so nice. And they really look well with these blues. Of course, they're complementary colors, so they would. But okay, and then we're just gonna lay this mat down. That art glitter glue grabs on in a hurry, so you need to be pretty sure that you've got it in the right spot when you lay that down, because you're not gonna have much opportunity to move it once it's down. Be careful of the magnet. You don't want to tear your paper or permanently bend it over that magnet. Okay, there we go. All right. It's really pretty. All right. So now we need to add the waterfall and the pocket. All right, so, all right. Okay, so this pocket goes, let me see. You know what, I think I'm gonna do the waterfall first, change my mind, just because it's gonna be easier to line the pocket up with the waterfall than the waterfall with the pocket, if that makes sense. Right, so here's our waterfall piece. The first piece is going to go 1/2 an inch down from the top and 1/2 an inch in from the right side. So if you go, lay your ruler down so that the 1/2 inch mark is right on this score line, the seam. I think I'll do it this way. The 1/2 inch right along there. So I can't get my head over it, so I hope you can see it. Hang on. Right. And then you want one of the lines to be right at the top, and you want to place this piece, which you've removed the backing from, 1/2 an inch down. Let me grab something that you can point with. So you want to go 1/2 an inch down from the top and 1/2 an inch over from the side, and place this corner of your waterfall right there. And kind of keep it held up until you get it right where you want it, right up against the ruler to help keep it straight. And then also use your eyes, you know, eyeball it a little bit to make sure it's straight, especially when you're dealing with stripes like this. Because if it's not straight, you're gonna know in a hurry. You should have a feeling that's not straight, but it's not too bad. So I'm gonna go with it. I just realized I haven't put the pin back in my glue. Do that. Okay. Now, each of the following waterfall pieces are gonna line up with that one, and I am so tempted to just take that off and redo it, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to be that much of a fuss budget. Okay. And you're going to line up your ruler, and then this piece butts right up against that flap. Okay, or the tab, I should say. Okay, I'm going to repeat that for all 4 of these. And you do have, you know, a couple in place that you can just keep lining them up one right after the other without using the ruler, but it's, I don't know, you might get off, and with the ruler it gives you a chance to kind of line things back up straight again. Except for that one, of course, but you'll find that I, especially when I'm trying to reach in front of me for the camera, do not do a great job sometimes of getting things perfectly straight, but they still look nice, so don't worry about it too much. Oh my goodness, my cat, can you hear him now? He's having this giant bath. I apologize. I may have to banish him. I'm sorry. That's kind of, I hope it's not bothering you too much. It's kind of gross noises, but he's got a cold. Okay, there we go. Oh my goodness, that's a wobbly waterfall, but that's okay. It's going to be fine. Now, if you have the guide, if you purchase the guide, it told you to cut a 2x2 piece to hold the ribbon for this waterfall, and that piece would go here. But this sticker, which comes with the collection, is 2x2, and I think I'm just going to use it instead. And maybe I'll just bring it down. We'll see. We're going to play with that a little bit, but I like it, so that's the one I'm going to use. All right, so now we can do our pocket. The last piece we need to add. And the pocket, you want the top of the pocket to line up with the top of the waterfall. So that's going to be a 1/2 inch down from the top. Right? Okay, now since this paper is striped, I'm just going to use one of the stripes to line up the vertical for this pocket. So let's pull the back of the tape off. Oops. Oh my goodness, okay, well okay, that didn't stick. Okay, you're going to line up your ruler with the 1/2 inch. You want to about center it between these two, and I think right there would be a good spot. And I'm just going to use the side of that stripe, and there we go. Okay, so now, pull that out. Those are scraps. We'll probably use them later though, because they're pretty good size. And we don't waste anything if we can help it. Okay, so now you've got your entire page assembled, and we just need to finish matting it. So let's do our mats. Let me get this out of the way. Now we already did the center mat, and we have our little 2-inch square, which I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to use that yet. So for the waterfalls, you're going to need 8 pieces that are 1 3/4 by 1 3/4 for your mats, okay? And this is double-sided paper, so I'm going to be flipping these around as I decide how I'm going to use them. So that's the mats that you need for the waterfall. For the large flap on the outside, which is where we're going to start, so you can cut these little squares out of scraps if you have them, but let's start with the large flap that's on the outside. It takes me forever to pick mats, so I chose these and cut them ahead of time so that you wouldn't have to wait through that. All right, so this piece is going to go on the outside, and let's get it inked up. And again, we're going to use the art glitter glue. Look at that, isn't that cute? I have to use that too. It's the thing with double-sided papers. I don't know if anybody else has the same experience, but so many times when I buy double-sided papers, which I love, I find that my favorite 2 papers are back to back. All right, so this one, I'm just going to flip that out. like it. Yeah. No, like that. Okay. Now, if you are working with a somewhat directional paper, and any time you're making an album, be very aware of the top and bottom of your pages. Once you've added pockets and flaps and things to them, there's a definite top and bottom. So that's really cute. All right. Now, that page, when closed, sits right on top of this page. And what did I do with my mats? Here we are. And I really like the way it looks with the orange. So I am going to use this orange piece right here. Whenever I have a page like this that has a sort of one side more dominant, but another side also showing, I like to have a nice contrast between the two. I just think it looks pretty. So you'll also note, when I talk about this some in the guide, that if you have all your papers the same scale, in other words, if all your prints are little prints or big prints, it's not as interesting as if you can mix up the scale of your prints. You know, you have this one, which is a large print, with this one, which is a small print. Let me see if I can grab a paper. Hang on a second. Okay, well, here's another one that's a fairly large print. This one's maybe more of a medium, but it just doesn't look as nice. There's not as much contrast, and it's a large print with a large print, whereas if you take a piece like this, the one that we're going to use, it's got a nice contrast and it's a small print as compared to a large print. And then, of course, we have the stripe going on in here. So I just think it looks nicer that way. Oh my goodness, he's back. My cat had left for a little bit, but now he's back. All right. This piece is going to go here. Oh goodness, let's see if we can get that a little straighter. Christina, do a better job of that. Okay, there we go. And we can put it this way. And it's certainly not the straightest mat ever. It's fairly straight, but it's not centered very well. Okay, there you go. And this art glitter glue does dry clear, so if you get a little seepage, it's not a big deal. You can just wipe it off. All right. Okay. Now we have to do all these inside mats. This album has a lot of mats. I'm just telling you right now. Okay. So chose this blue for this pocket. It's kind of plain, but I thought later on down the road when we're embellishing, this pocket front is going to be a good place for maybe a chipboard element or a sticker or something like that. So I'm okay with that. All right, so that's going to go there. And then the lining is going to be that same orange. Really didn't need to ink the bottom. It's not going to be visible, but is that the right piece? Yes, I had it sideways. Okay, so that's going to go in there. That's going to go there. And then I've got this for inside here and this for this. All right, next time I'll probably just go ahead and ink up all my mats ahead of time. Certainly I will for the waterfall, so that you don't have to sit there and watch me putting ink on the edges, which can get a little tedious. All right, that piece is going to go there. All right, I'm going to go ahead and ink up the piece for the pocket and all the waterfall pieces, and I'll be right back. Okay, so back. I've got everything inked up, and we are ready to mat. So let's just work our way across. We'll do the waterfall last. Move these out of the way. And let's start here. And again, we're using art glitter glue. You can get that at Country Craft Creations, Amazon. Not sure where else has it, but I assume most probably online scrapbook retailers probably carry it. I'm not going to put too much ink here at the bottom because we don't want to glue our pocket closed, which is one thing I have thus far not managed to do, but there's always a first time, and generally if there's some sort of wacky way to do something, I'll find a way to do it. Oh my goodness, that's crooked. I'm going to have to just stop saying it. Just assume I'm going to put mats down crooked. And this is the one for the pocket. And while I was taking a break, after I finished inking all of these pieces, I went and washed my hands. And I mentioned that in my previous video series, is you want to keep your hands clean, especially if you're working with a white cardstock, because it's easy to get ink on them and then transfer it to the cardstock, and then you're going to end up having to ink where you didn't really want to. Ask me how I know. So keep your hands clean. It's good to take a break anyway, get up and walk around, so use that minute to go and wash your hands. Okay, and then we're putting this one here on the pocket, which is so cute. I keep saying how cute these papers are, but they really are. And imagine how cute this album will be maybe for somebody's trip to the beach. I mean, where I live, we have beaches everywhere, so we all spend a lot of time at the beach, but even a trip to the lake, if you don't go to the beach, if you have a lake nearby or something like that, and you take your kids there, it'd be really cute. Let's see. Okay, we've got a little kid's legs there. Which way do I want those to face? This way or this way? I think this way. And add a punish. And this piece here is going to go in the pocket. Let's tuck that in there. Now this flap does not have a magnet because it doesn't need one. It will be held in place by this flap. Can you see that? Yeah. Okay, so now we have our waterfall. And before we add the mats, we need to add the ribbons that are going to hold this waterfall closed. So let me grab a piece of tape. And scissors. These are Tim Holtz scissors for tonic. Okay, so in the center of this top waterfall, you're going to put a vertical piece of tape, just like that, okay? And then the other piece is going to go underneath this little sticker, which I think I've pretty well decided to sort of put halfway onto this flap. Like, I don't want to bring it all the way down, but I don't want it all the way up either, so I'm just going to split the difference, put it in the halfway. All right, so I'm going to cut a piece of tape. And this piece is going to get centered just behind where that sticker is going to go. This sticker is from a sticker sheet, by the way, and I just put it on a piece of cardstock that I had. Probably I should have used a piece of plain, but I had this piece lying around, so I used this one. And just to give it a little more body. Also to make it a little easier to handle when trying to put it down here, rather than just putting it down and having it stick immediately. Because as we've established, I don't always put things down straight. Okay, so let's take, this is seam binding. And I just buy white and then use various inks and whatever to dye it, whatever colors I need. And we're probably just going to stick with white throughout this album, but we'll see. So you're just going to put your piece of tape right on, put a ribbon right on top of that piece of tape. Okay, and then this is going to get put on top of it. Oh, you know what? I did not ink the edges of that. Let me just real quick do that. Okay, that's better. Okay, and let's see, how does this turtle go? I think he goes like that, right? Yeah, I think he goes like that. Well, if y'all think I did it wrong, just go ahead and tell me in the comments. Okay, there we go. Whoops, I just pushed it. All right, there we go. Just press. All right. There we go. Like that. Okay, and then this one, do the same thing right here. Okay, well, look at that a little high. Let's see if I can trim that. I always cut my seam binding pretty long, which is probably wasteful, but it just makes it easier to deal with. This looks pretty good though. I don't think I did too long. Alrighty, so now I've got my mats set aside in the order that I want them. Is this a little high? There we go. And I cut the mats for this waterfall out of just scraps of all the other papers that I used. So it's gonna coordinate nicely, and it used up some paper. Okay. Well, that's a little off to the side, but that's okay. When you have this right in front of you and you're not having to reach way forward the way I am, you'll have an easier time getting these on. As I get a little more experience with filming, I'll get better at it. There we go. All right, and I'm going to put this stripe sideways just to give it a little contrast with the background stripe. My goodness, definitely overglued that one. Okay. And there's that one. Okay. Now, you don't actually have to do the insides of a waterfall because you could put pictures there, but I like to. I just think it looks more finished. So we're going to. I've been thinking, because I was working on this album, that it would look really cute with Christmas papers. And I don't know if it's all this Christmas in July stuff that's going on, or just trying to keep ahead of things. So I keep thinking that it's really time, if not past time, to get started on some Christmas gifts. And how about you guys? Have you all started your Christmas crafting? You know, what are you making? Tell me down below, because I have no idea yet what I'm going to do. I was thinking maybe a recipe book. That might be fun. For my sisters-in-law or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. There we go. All right. So now, there's one last thing which we're not going to do today, but we are going to come back and do it later. And that is put a piece of paper right here, a mat. And the reason we're not doing it right now is I am sure I'm going to end up with a scrap that's probably just the right size. I don't have it yet, and I don't want to cut anything special for it. So when I get a scrap the right size, and when we get around to doing the matting and the tags and all that for this page, then we're going to go ahead and come back and add that. So this gets tied into a bow. And this, with this paper, what might be really cute is if instead of using this seam binding, if you use twine, a little string, something like that, looks a little nautical. I don't actually have any, so I'm just going to go ahead and use my seam binding that I always use. There we go, that's cute. Okay, so this page, we're going to come back and do inserts later at the end. We'll probably do all the inserts. So that one folds over like that, and you've got the bulk of that bow, but it's okay because the weight of that magnet is enough to hold it down. All right, so our first page is done. I hope you're making it. I hope you have fun making it. And next time, we're going to do probably this page. You never know, we might bounce around. Haven't decided yet. But anyway, we're going to do one of the 8 pages next time. So I hope you enjoyed. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell, the notification bell, so that when I post the next video in the series, you'll be able to come and watch it and make the next page with me. I think that's probably going to be on Friday. Not sure yet, but I think it'll be Friday. So thanks very much. I hope you had a good time, and I hope you come back and watch again. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.